Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel, and this right here has got to be one of the most sinister looking guitars I've ever reviewed. Just look at this, satin black with blood red accents and black hardware. And here's the thing, a semi-hollow body guitar like this, typically you think of a guitar like this as being good for blues or jazz maybe, but this guitar with this look, I think we have to play metal with it, and this guitar is surprisingly good at playing metal. So if you can't already see the headstock there, this is one of the latest guitars from Firefly Guitars. And one of the things about Firefly is, one of the cool things that they do is they do all kinds of weird color combinations that you wouldn't typically get from some of the mainstream companies like Fender or Gibson or whatever. And they do these, I guess, kind of like short-run batches of these different colors. They sell them, and then depending on how well they do, maybe they'll bring that same color back again, or if it wasn't that popular, they'll just scrap it and move on. And this basic guitar here, this is their 338 model, you know, a kind of a larger body, semi-hollow body guitar. And the 338 model they've had for years and years and years. In fact, it was actually, you know, the first version of that was the first guitar that I ever checked out from Firefly way, way back in the day. And I want to say that was in like 2017, and maybe a couple of years after that, you know, they started out with like a standard like transparent red and, you know, colors like that, very standard stuff. And then a couple of years later, they moved on to doing these crazy color combinations. And this one here is one of the latest ones, but it is far from the only one that they have done or that they currently are doing. And if you look on the website, I'll have links for everything I'm talking about down in the video description below. If you look on the website, you know, at the colors they have right now, they've got like the blueberry burst, which is like a flame blue burst. And, you know, that color is really popular. In fact, I've gotten a lot of those guitars. I've got like the V and, you know, the X, the Explorer shape, all in blueberry burst. I think I've got a Telly also and an SG style guitar, lots of stuff in that color. But they've got that one. And then they've got like this cool, like metallic kind of iridescent finish. Basically all kinds of stuff, but in this 338 body style that at this point is really, really popular. I imagine there is some guy that works at Firefly whose job it is to just sit around and come up with crazy color combinations. You know, purple and orange, green and yellow, black and blood red. Okay, but here's the other deal with this guitar. It's not just the colors, but this guitar actually has several upgrades to it compared to the older 338s. And they're calling this the, I think it's like the FF 338 Pro or something like that. But basically the upgrades here, it's got locking tuners on the back, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in the video. It's got a bone nut. It's got the rounded ball-in frets, those really nice frets that everybody loves. Then it's got some aesthetic things. You know, it's got multiply binding here and the block inlays that are really cool. And then possibly the coolest thing of all, look at this bridge down here. It's got a roller bridge with brass rollers. And between the roller bridge and the locking tuners and the nut, this guitar, it's very easy to tune, and it stays in tune really, really well. Also, one last thing with the specs, and this might seem like a, you know, a very small detail, but it's got the volute back here on the back of the where the headstock and the neck meet. And like I said, I mean, that might seem like a small detail, but that gives the headstock quite a bit more strength than it would otherwise have. So this guitar, you can drop this, you know, with the headstock hitting the ground, and it's not going to snap off like a Gibson might do. So anyway, with the features that it has, the robust build, and of course the very sinister look that it has, this is the perfect guitar for playing like doom metal or maybe like some classic Black Sabbath riffs. And you might be thinking, well, it's a semi-hollow body guitar, how good can it sound playing that stuff, or that style at least? I think you'll be surprised when we get into the sound demo. So let's go ahead and do that actually. So I'm gonna plug this in. I'm gonna use my Boss IR200 amp and cabinet simulator. That's about a $400 piece of equipment, and all of the sound is coming from there. So there's no like extra studio magic or anything like that. making the guitar sound better than it really is. So let's go ahead and get into that. But real quick, guys, as always, if you enjoy videos like this, checking out cool, new, affordable guitars, and staying up on all the latest news in the guitar universe, and you have not already subscribed for some reason, please consider subscribing right now. Okay, guys, here we go. In the satin black with blood red accents semi-hollow body guitar from Firefly, let's plug it in and listen to how mean and sinister and evil this guitar sounds. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit more about this guitar, the playability, the sound, and of course the value. I should mention right now, the price of this guitar is a little under $200. I mean, the Firefly guitars are always super affordable like that. But even with these upgrades, the brass roller bridge and the locking tuners, it's still, I think, $189, still under 200 bucks. So great price, set neck and all that. Great price on this guitar. Now, I want to point out, in comparison to previous 338 guitars from Firefly, I think these tuners are really a legitimate upgrade, because these tuners, they have no play, I mean, there's zero play, no slack in them or anything like that, and they're very smooth. Tuning the guitar is very easy. That's not just the tuners, but it's the nut and also the bridge to a certain extent. But it's very easy to get in tune. Everything feels solid when you're tuning it, and it stays in tune very well too. And I remember on some of the earlier 338 models, again, these are sub $200 guitars, so one of the places that they were saving some money, I think, was just using very standard generic tuners. And sometimes, you could get it in tune, but there was a little bit of slop and play in the tuners. There's zero of that with this guitar. Now, another thing I noticed about this guitar, and I don't know if everybody, how people are going to feel about this, but, with the volute here and the different frets and everything that this neck has, this neck, it feels thicker to me than the older 338 models. The early and, the earlier 338 models had like a really thin neck. It was surprisingly thin for that style of guitar. This one here is a little bit of a fuller, like C-shaped neck. So not a thin shred neck, but it's at the same time, it's like a neck you would expect to find on a guitar like this. So compared to the earlier models, like I said, this actually has a thicker neck. Now, I already talked a little bit about some of the other colors that are available, and they're all about the same price, you know, maybe within $20 of each other. But, you know, there's just these little aesthetic details. Obviously, the color combination is great, but I love the block inlays. On a guitar like this, having the block inlays instead of just the dots, you know, it really gives it a nice look. And the rosewood fretboard is a really nice, deep rosewood with a really nice grain in it. So just overall, I mean, it's a really cool, sinister looking guitar, like I said, that stands out and gets people's attention, but it retains just a little bit of elegance to it that I really, really like. Now, the last thing I'll say here, as far as the sound of the guitar, is this thing has a big, fat, chunky sound to it. I would even call it kind of a darker tone, which is hilarious considering how the guitar looks. It's still articulate, you can still hear all the notes, but it's not a bright tone. It's a very warm, like I said, kind of a darker tone with a lot of bottom end to it. So when you've got some gain on there, I mean, this guitar has just like a big sound to it. Okay guys, so there we go. Satin black finish with the blood red accents, even on the inside of the F-holes, which is really cool. And yeah, the rounded ball and frets, locking tuners, roller bridge with the brass rollers, a lot of cool features, all for under $200. I never get tired of reviewing the Firefly guitars because they're such a good value. So many people out there love them, and they're always doing something new. So, you know, it's great to see this trend continuing. Okay, guys. Of course, you know, go to the website, check out the other colors available if you don't want something that's this sinister looking. I understand. We're not always in that kind of mood, right? But they've got a lot of other colors. Anyway, so guys, that's pretty much it. I'm going to have links for everything I was talking about in the video down in the video description below. The guitar, maybe some of my previous Firefly videos, the Boss unit that I was using for the demo, all that stuff, plus my social media and my instructional programs, everything down. Let me know what you thought of the guitar in the comment section. And guys, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you very soon.